Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Antioch High School. It's the Mayor's Cup tonight as the Antioch Panthers try to hold on to their perfect record as they play the crosstown rival Deer Valley Wolverines. And Dan, that big question that always has to be answered when you play Antioch, how do you stop Najee and this running game?
Well, I've heard 700 or 800 different ways. Most of them aren't legal in the lower 50 states, Tony, but the main thing that most coaches say is you've got to hit him before he gets past the line of scrimmage, and you've got to tackle him with multiple tacklers. If he gets past the line of scrimmage and is able to make a move or use his power, he's going to get 15 or 20 yards and possibly more. Last week he rushed for 360 yards and 6 touchdowns, and the amazing stat is he has 246 of Antioch's 381 points, if you count his conversions. And tonight he could break a record, a long-standing touchdown record that's been held by the great Worth Shaw, who played here back in before you were born, I were born, and some of our I think my dad was only 12 when Worth broke that record. But it should be an interesting game. It's a crosstown game. It's another game for Antioch as they keep looking for that big game next week, which if they win tonight will be 9-0 Antioch, and if Pittsburgh wins tonight, 8-1 Pittsburgh, which should be a classic.
And of course we'll get in more into this later on, but still some critics out there as far as Antioch's concerned. Now go over to Luke Johnson, and Luke, you got this rivalry here that's been going on for a while, and you look at Deer Valley, 3-5, but really a couple different plays here, especially in that Liberty game and that Pitt game. Their season could be a whole lot different right now.
I definitely agree. All those 3 games they lost in a row against tough teams, especially Pittsburgh, who they lost to only by 3 points. They're only down by 6 against Liberty. And last week, they had a lot of controversy, which we'll get into later. Freedom game tied at halftime, but a whole bunch of mistakes offensively allowed Freedom's defense to score 18 points, and Deer Valley wasn't able to come back.
And I guess we've got the band. Well, the gentlemen meeting at the field, coin toss time.
As soon as we get done with the coin toss, one thing that has to be addressed is that Deer Valley is without their head coach tonight, Ron Hubbard. It was announced yesterday that he's been put on administrative leave due to the incident that happened 2 weeks ago in Pittsburgh. And while we will not comment on that because we really don't have all the facts, we just want to say we wish Coach Hubbard well. He did get in contact with me via email, and one of the amazing things was he was very complimentary towards not only his team but Antioch. Thought they'd been doing a great job. Thinks Harris is a once-in-a-lifetime talent, and he wanted me to wish everyone well, and I thought that was very big of him.
Yeah, situation obviously, like you said, Dan, we won't go into, but Coach Robert Hubbard not with the team this year. I had a chance to talk to him earlier in the year, and he was very helpful. Lonnie Barnes is now the head coach, and I guess the acting head coach is the term that we're going to use for Coach Barnes tonight.
I talked to Barnes and his staff for about an hour yesterday, and I asked how has the team reacted to being without Hubbard these past 2 weeks. And all of them have referred to him as their general, and that they're still recuperating after that loss.
Another thing, Tony, and I hope people are civil tonight because we had a fight at the end of the JV game. I understand there was a fight going on in the stands just a couple of minutes ago, and I really hope that people can just cool it. I don't know what it is about coming to games nowadays. You cannot even go onto the internet or onto a app on your phone. 9 times out of 10, it's negative news. It's fights. It's junior college teams in fights, high school teams in fights, knocking over referees. Can we cool it? I mean, it's ridiculous.
The ridiculousness doesn't stop certainly with just football. A couple of weeks ago, I don't even get into the schools or anything, but let's just say it was local. Girls volleyball team had to call the police, and one of the young ladies ended up in the pokey for the evening. So who knows what's going on, but anyway, we are set to get going right now as Antioch getting set to kick off. Antioch in their black, Deer Valley in the whites, as the Mayor's Cup for 2015 is underway. This one is going to be taken to the 6-yard line. Green tries to get outside and is cut down at about the 24-yard line. It'll bring up 1st and 10 for Deer Valley. Here's the offense. Elijah Evans is the quarterback. Jonathan Lane, the running back. Rayshawn Alexander, Devin Gould, Abe Weinert, Daniel Lotto is the tight end. Phelan, Johnson, Hardy, DeCour, and Totu round out the quintet on the offensive line.
And Tony, we still have to, I do not believe Alexander is in the game. We had heard that he might not play tonight because he had a laceration on his Achilles last week during the Liberty game. And to be confirmed, that is not him.
Going up the middle and bent backward awkwardly, trying to get the number to see who that is after just a yard gain. It will be Jonathan Lane on the carry, number 30, short gain. And here's the Antioch defense. Joey Gray is back. Sir Forbes is the nose guard. Kyle Brown, those are the three up front. Kobe Beltran, Vinay Hafoka, Nick Perry, Miles Aguiar, DeJuan Boyd, Najee Harris, Antoine Tanner, and Ryan Payne to round out the 11. And Perry is actually injured and not in the ball game tonight.
Perry's a late scratch. We'll try to figure out who's starting in his place.
Evans looking under pressure. Now he's going to run. Gets away. Crosses the 30. Crosses the 35. Picks up a first down as he spilled out of bounds beyond the 35 to the 36. And about a 10-yard run there, and that will be first down for the Wolverines. For Evans, 47-90 coming in. 835 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and the numbers for Alexander very good. 15 touchdowns overall. He certainly will be missed.
Evans is elusive. He can get outside. You saw him run away from Beltram and Payne, who are two of Antioch's best defensive players.
Yeah, Gould actually was the starter at the beginning of the year, and they made the switch, and it really helped them out because Gould is a very good receiver.
Okay, that's Alexander,
and
Tony.
Alexander
so
is in the game. Caught behind the line of scrimmage, and he'll lose a couple of yards. He'll lose more than a couple. It looks like they're going to mark forward progress. Now they're going to mark it down about the 31-yard line, so he's going to lose about 5 yards on the carry. So welcome to the ball game, Alexander.
Well, you saw Beltram get through there. There's also a penalty on the play. Hofoka was there as well. And I don't think Richie Beltram's going to let you run by him many times. He's their leading tackler. He's their all-time leading tackler.
Yeah, took that spot over from his brother earlier this year.
Yeah, Kobe Beltram. Richie's actually the oldest, but yeah. Fine crop of siblings are the Beltrams.
And
I think he's the last one, though.
Without Nick Perry, certainly that linebacking core hurt a bit for Antioch because that is a very talented core. And Finay Hafoka having a marvelous season and also doing pretty well as the tight end.
Yeah, I talked to Lou Shudo before this game, and Perry has been a big loss for them, offensively and defensively. He's a leader and he just knows the game very well.
Yeah, they declined the penalty, Tony, to take the yardage. 2nd and 16.
Second down and long. Here's Evans. Drop back. Plenty of time for Evans. Throws deep down the field. He's got a man. That is going to be caught inside Antioch territory all the way down to the 35-yard line. So Alexander with the big completion. Devin Gould, who as I just said was the quarterback, he's now one of their very good wide receivers, comes up with a big play here.
You know, after a few games in the season, Evans took over and it's proven to be a good decision with Gould being their best receiver.
Gould is their number one, a quality kid, a kid that might get some D1 looks as well. On that play, he made a great stutter step move to get open. He was being guarded that time by Dunn.
First down and 10. Wolverines. Boy, Evans, good time this time. Throws out here short to the 30-yard line. That's going to be good for about 5 yards, and that will be to Lato, Daniel Lato, the junior, making the catch. So 5 yards on first down. It'll bring up second down and 5.
Tony, you can't give Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, or Elijah Evans that much time to throw.
Evans. I mean, he's been a statue back there, except for the time that he ran for that first down. But other than that, he's looked like kind of Kenny Stabler behind that old Raiders line back in the day, Dan. Shotgun formation, that pistol look. Handoff. Alexander with the cutback, caught at the 30 and maybe a yard, and that's all. Third down upcoming for the Wolverines.
Alexander, he's the workhorse of the team. He has about 50% of the team's total pointing and yardage on offense.
And you see that, 1,059 yards coming into the ball game for Rayshawn.
Well, so far you've seen it, Tony. Their big three is Evans, Alexander, and Gould, and they've been making the plays here so far on this drive.
3 wide receiver spread going to the far side. Alexander, the lone setback. They're going to throw that little hitch pass out here, caught. Nice move out there, and that will be enough for a first down. And that's Devin Gould again, his second catch of the day. One big play and now another play, good for a first down inside the 25-yard line to about the 24.
You know, when Gold switched to receiver, I was kind of surprised. He's not the quickest guy, he's not the tallest guy, the strongest guy, but what he does great is run routes, and being a quarterback, he knows the passing game very well.
Here's Alexander, short game there, maybe a yard and that's all.
Joey Gray didn't play last week. He's back for Antioch. He made the tackle on that play.
And his brother Mark playing at the University of, I believe it's New Mexico University, playing defensive end. So a nice pedigree there for Joey Gray. And of course, Sir Forbes having a very nice year in the middle of that field. Last week, Antioch certainly dominated those A gaps, both offensively and defensively. And really, Antioch did a lot of their damage on the ground, going right up the middle. There's that little hitch pass again. A nice move to get to the inside. Pick up a couple of yards, get close to the 20 to about the 21-yard line, and that's Devin Gould again, third catch of the game from him. It will leave them a few yards short of the first down.
And if they keep overrunning the receiver like that, he's going to get a lot of yards because the tacklers have both times missed on that initial surge. And you can see Evans is 4 for 4 for 44 yards on this drive. I don't think any team has had an opening drive like this against Antioch this year.
Well, going down the field right now. Here's Evans with time again. Now flushed out to his left. Chase to his left, and he's just going to go out of the pocket and throw it away. Trying to see who was that closest pursuer. I think that's Hafoka.
It was,
but
I thought that ball had to make the sideline, Tony. That ball landed in bounds.
Well, usually if you could go out of the tackle box, Dan, and I thought it had to go to at least the line of scrimmage.
I thought it had to go out of bounds if you're not throwing it to anyone. See, they're talking about it right now. Because he was out of the pocket, obviously.
Clearly out of the pocket.
Which has been a big problem. I don't know if you've been watching in the NFL. There's been 2 or 3 where they've reviewed him. And you can see the guy's not out of the pocket, and they call him out of the pocket. Now that, folks, was out of the pocket. It's actually holding against Antioch. So,
and intentional
and
grounding. Good call, Dan.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if in that situation they just said, you know what, there's a good way to get out of this. Watch this. We're going to call grounding. I think it has to go either to the line of scrimmage and or if you're out and you're not throwing anyone, it has to go out of bounds. And that's why that was grounding on that. So it's going to be 3rd and 8 again.
I have a scoring update in the B-Val. Within a minute into the game, Freedom is up 7-0 against Heritage.
There's a look at our out-of-town scoreboard. Big 3rd down upcoming here. Remember, Christian Rodriguez, the kicker, has made one from 44 this year. Back to pass, now under some pressure, throws into a crowd. It's going to be caught, but well short of a first down. They're going to spot this ball about the 21-yard line. So it makes us about a 38, 39-yard field goal. Rodriguez, I said, Dan, from 44 yards, and it looks like they are going to bring on the field goal unit.
And if you like field goals, this is about the only time you're going to see one because Antioch, I don't even know if they've kicked an extra point this year. Maybe just practice in a 60-0 game.
I don't know why you would.
Some of those 50 burgers, you know, they put them up there.
But I mean, Najee Harris, he has 48 two-point conversions.
Snap, kick, and this one is good.
Wow, he kicked it. 40-yarder, Tom.
So he knocks it through, does Rodriguez, and with 7:44 to go here in the opening quarter, it's the Deer Valley Wolverines on the road here in the Mayor's Cup, and they take a 3-0 lead.
Hey, a lot of people surprised right now. They didn't think Deer Valley could hang. They're up right now, 3-0.
And it was a nice drive, and of course Gold with a couple of catches, especially that big one, Dan, to get them down to the 35-yard line. That big play when they had lost some yardage on the Alexander run on the previous play.
Actually, a lot of people have mentioned that this is another one of those games, you know, plus it's a rivalry game. It's against your crosstown rival. And Antioch has to go play the Big Little game next week. And even if they were to lose this game, that's still going to be one of the biggest Big Little games in the last 30 years.
No question
about it. Because if they lose, they can still win the championship by winning that game. Because Pittsburgh with one loss, it's going to be whoever wins that game. Who wins, no matter what their records are going into.
How about
the
star power? Pittsburgh bringing in Montez Thompson, a lot of touchdowns, 12 for him, and he's certainly putting up big numbers. And this one to be taken, Dan, at the 26-yard line, cross the 30, hit and stopped just before the 35, but that short little pooch kick will give Antioch some good field position to start their first drive. And here is that offense. Newman Najee is the quarterback. The aforementioned Najee Harris on his way to Alabama. Kobe Beltran, Ryan Payne, Isaac Freitas, Finay Hafoka, we mentioned, who's having a good year at tight end. Combs, Sahota Brown, Kyle Jarvis, and Justin Kennard rounding out that quintet across the front line for the Panthers.
We mentioned earlier, a key missing link on offense is going to be Perry, their number 2 running back. He takes a lot of workload off of Harris.
Yeah, he's usually the guy who would spell Najee. They're going to run that power outside, and it looks like Deer Valley on this first play makes the play behind the line of scrimmage, as they're going to drop Harris for a yard loss. He tried to go out to the right side, student body right that time, but taken care of by that Deer Valley defense, and here they are. Brandon Wright, James Warren, Latu Totu, and Sean Ray across the front. Kyle Thompson, Brandon Fatahale, Abe Weinert, Jalen Threet, Telvin Haynes, Ronald Preston, and Dolo. And now a big play out here, and Harris breaks it across the 50, across the 40, 35, 30. He's going all the way. Harris, touchdown Antioch, and there is the record. Single season touchdown record belongs to Najee Harris. They stopped him on one play. They couldn't stop him on the second play.
Well, that first play, Tony, that's an easy play if you can get a guy to string the play along, make the tackle. That time they went right up the middle, and what happened? Like we said, coaches say you got to tackle him. They did on the first play. Second play, got through the line of scrimmage, hit a guy, and then ran through the entire Deer Valley defense for the touchdown. And that's why the guy is as good as he is.
Well, touchdown number 26. And Worthshaw's record has fallen with another game left. They're going to try that 2-point conversion. They're not going to get in this time, so it remains 6-3. So the good news for the Deer Valley defense, they've made 2 stops on Najee. The bad news is they gave up a 66-yard touchdown.
Yeah, that hasn't happened very many times, Tony, where he misses a 2-point conversion. Antioch has outscored their opponents 381 to 114, so now we're up to 387-117. They've outscored their opponents by 170 points so far in this undefeated season.
Well, Najee came in 1,844 yards, gets 66 to that, so he's over 1,900 now. 12.6 per carry, a ridiculous number on the per carry average. So that went up slightly as well. And here's Antioch to kick it off, now leading 6-3. 6:51 to go in the opening quarter of the 2015 Mayor's Cup. Panther football brought to you here on National Prep Stars and Delta TV. Here's the kickoff. That'll drive them back inside the 5, cross the 10, 15, 20, breaks it out, 25, 30, one man to beat, breaks a tackle across midfield, 40, 30, finally dragged out at about the 32-yard line. And that is a huge return from Nasir Green, number 11, and he gives a big play to the Deer Valley Wolverines, and just like that, they're back in business on offense.
There's also a penalty flag down, but I don't think it's going to negate a lot of that run because the flag is at the 43-yard line.
Boy.
Now here's the thing that's going to drive the coach crazy. If that penalty is where the flag was thrown, it was about 20 yards to the other side of the field to where the run was happening. Absolutely
ridiculous.
No reason to even touch anyone on the Antioch side that far away from the ball because he was running one-on-one and being chased by 2 guys who had no defenders near him. It's not going to kill the return. They still get the ball at the 49-yard line, but it takes away a little bit of the luster of that
it's about a 20-yard loss on that play. And remember last time, after a nice drive, Dan, the Deer Valley Wolverines had to settle for a field goal. So in any event, the Wolverines will start now at their own 49-yard line, 1st and 10, 6:37 to go here in the opening quarter. Evans back there. He's been protected well tonight. Here's Alexander trying to get free, and he's going to lose a yard. A host of black shirts getting up off the tackle. So not a whole lot of room for Ray Sean on that particular carry. It'll be 2nd down and 11.
I want to mention the other coaches that are stepping up at Deer Valley. Ed Tidwell. Both Barnes and Tidwell went to school in Oakland and played. As a matter of fact, Tidwell was at Oakland Tech just after, either prior to or after Marshawn Lynch. Dennis Taylor, Gaia Vian, Terrell Woodall and Eric Hubbard, who is Ron's brother, are the other coaches over there in Deer Valley right now.
All right, here's Evans. Ray Sean behind him. Good pass here. Under pressure, and Beltran's there to make the tackle. Gets the sack, and Kobe Beltran now, that is his 6th sack on the season. And boy, coming with that blitz that time right around the offensive right side, Dan, and nobody was home to pick up the blitzing linebacker.
That's not something a quarterback wants to see, is not Richie Beltram, one of the Beltrams, Kobe Beltram. I've known them all, Marky Beltram. Hey, Beltram running at you, they do not want to see that.
No, that is a loss all the way back to the 42-yard line. Boy, they're going to need to get all the way to just about the 40-yard line of Antioch. Call it about the 41-yard line of Antioch. 3rd down and 17. Deep down the side, safety coming over, banging into each other, but that is good position by the defense that time. The cornerback behind, the safety coming over the top, Luke, and turned around just in time as the contact was made. No pass interference call.
It looked like he's kind of boxing him out right there.
Very much.
Power forward in the NBA.
Good looking play that time, Dan, with the cornerback trailing and the safety coming over the top. So Antioch was ready for the deep pass downfield, and the Wolverines will have to punt.
Yeah, Dolo was running that time, good defensive play, and now we're going to see their punting game, and we're going to see number 3, Ryan Payne, another guy with Division I talent and great speed back to field this punt.
Payne returned one earlier this season against Heritage. That one's blocked.
Boy, this one is going to trickle down here. Inside the 45 down to the 41-yard line. So good pressure that time. Antioch gets a piece of the ball, and they are going to get good field position. So after it looked, gentlemen, like the Wolverines, after that big return, we're going to get the ball near the 30-yard line. The penalty hurts them. They get the Beltram sack, and now the block punt. Good field position for Antioch on their 2nd drive of the quarter.
And you got to wonder sometimes, does it matter where Antioch starts?
Not really.
Not really. Because
field
it
position
just means
has not been a big deal.
He's going to go for that much farther than, and there he is again.
Well, if you start him closer, then his yardage won't be so bad. It might look like he did a good job defensively.
That's a good point.
I mean, just mathematically speaking, of course. Interesting looking formation and kind of that offset high coming out of the pistol. Here's Payne coming in motion. They fake it to him. And Najee going to spin away from tacklers and get across midfield down near the 45-yard line. Call it the 46. And that'll be enough for a first down, about 12 yards on the carry. And it'll bring up first down and 10. And again, Luke, so many times we've seen him with the spin. We've seen him with the straight arm. We've seen him, Dan, in close quarters, and he's still able to get away.
He's just incredible in all facets. 6'2", 225 pounds, runs a 4.6 40, incredible balance. How do you take that down?
Pretty difficult. Man in motion. Here's Najee right up the middle this time. Hit and stopped. And several white shirts are there after about a yard gain. It'll bring up 2nd down and 9. So the scary thing coming from last year to this year, Najee faster because during the spring he worked out with the track team. He was 15 pounds heavier. And guys, he's going to come back next year. He's not going to be 15 pounds heavier and faster again, is he?
Well, you never know.
Wow.
I just know there's already guys trying to figure out a way to stop him, and they don't play him until next October.
Yeah, ridiculous. Hafoka in the fullback spot now near the line of scrimmage. They're going to fake it this time. Here's Najee rolling. He's got Finney out of the backfield, and he's got a big play. Hafoka all the way down near the 20-yard line. Big play for Antioch, and that'll be a first down, making it 1st and 10.
One thing a lot of coaches have told me, though, you make sure, I will say, I think a lot of people are really impressed with the coach Lucido's job this year, the job he's done getting this team ready. And the fact is, they're just not Najee Harris. I mean, they're lucky they got this guy, but Hafoka can play, Beltram can play, Perry, who's hurt, can play. Their quarterback has thrown for over 1,000 yards. I mean, these guys are a complete team.
Here he is, dumping it off. He's got Hafoka again, hit and cut down at the 15-yard line. He'll bring up about 7 on the play, and he'll bring up 2nd down and 3. Ronald Preston, number 25, the junior, came over to make the tackle. Now looking at Najeeb's numbers, 1,061 yards, Dan, and almost 20 yards per catch, averaging 132 yards through the air, and they're taking advantage of people having to stack the line of scrimmage against Najee.
And 13 touchdowns.
Had himself a good year. Cut back for Harris, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown! got to the 10-yard line, Dan. Preston was there, but he made that cut to the inside, and it was all over.
Hey, he's adding to his record. This is only the 9th game of the season. We got next week, and who knows how many in the playoffs.
That's
Well,
true. You got to figure one, but that's where the big challenge is going to come, and we'll talk about that later. So far for Harris, Tony, 5 carries, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns, and we've only played 9 minutes.
Harris, and he's into the end zone.
He's on a pace for like 1,000 yards tonight.
Najee going to get it, makes that cut back to the inside, and he is into the end zone for the 2-point conversion, and that makes it 14-3 with still 3 minutes and 6 seconds to go. So, Dan, you said it. Does it really matter where they start? Not really.
It's kind of like arena football with Antioch. You know, in arena football, they kind of got rid of where you play as long as you got the ball, and that's kind of what Antioch wants. One thing I want to talk about, you're talking about Wershaw. Wershaw was an Antioch Panther. He graduated in 1946. Thank you for that stat, Luke. But the thing I know about him is my mom and his wife Bertha went to school together. I've always been friendly with the Shaw family. His sons Bobby and Mike both were Antioch Panthers. Mike was a great running back here in Worth. Played with the great Gino Marchetti and was drafted by the Baltimore Colts. And a lot of people said he was equal to or maybe a touch better than Gino Marchetti, who's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's a pretty amazing
big
thing
member
to say.
of those 58 and 59 championship games with the Colts and those victories over the Giants. And, of course, that 58 game, Dan, still regarded as maybe one of the greatest football games of all time. Here's the kickoff, taken at the 5-yard line. Cross the 10, cross the 15, and this time Antioch gets on this one. Ball is loose, and do the Panthers have it? It looks like they do. Nasir Green was on the return. He was hit, fumbled the football, and the Panthers do, in fact, have the ball. So Antioch going to start deep in the territory of the Deer Valley Wolverines following that fumble.
This is what Deer Valley did last week against Freedom in the second.
Gets on this one. Ball is loose. The Panthers have it. And right now, Dan, they haven't proven that they could stop Antioch. Of course, nobody has really stopped Antioch. They scored 62 in the opener that we had against Acalanes. And overall, Dan, they've scored over 50 points 5 times, and they did like 46 in another game.
Yeah, they're averaging close to 50 points a game, Tony. And right now, if they score on this drive, they'll be on a pace for roughly 84 tonight.
Here's Payne going to get it on the end around, looking for some room on the sideline, still going, hopping over a couple of players, then hit and knocked out of bounds inside the 5-yard line. That'll make it 1st and goal for Antioch.
I don't think that, Ryan Payne's a great player, Perry's a great player, Beltram. I don't think it's going to matter too much tonight, but next week and then in the playoffs, they're going to need everybody.
Yes.
People don't realize, as you mentioned, that Antioch's only critics are the people that say they really have not played a great team yet, and they're right. They have not played one of the top 5 or 6 teams in this area.
They will
next week.
Man in motion here on 1st and goal, and right up the middle, and hit and stop. And Harris short of the goal line this time, but that takes him to about the 2-yard line. He picks up a couple of yards, and that'll bring up 2nd down and goal for Antioch. About a 5-yard gain, actually, on that play.
Antioch going real quick to the line of scrimmage, Tony.
No huddle, right to the line of scrimmage for Antioch. And Deer Valley really in the soup already here, Dan, trailing by 11. Handoff, Harris trying to cut back, runs into a pile of Wolverines. And he's going to be stopped there for no gain. It'll bring up 3rd down and goal. And this would be a huge deal, Luke, if they can stop the Panthers here.
No, I expect them to either do a direct snap to Harris, or they might power it in. They might put Hofoka or Beltram. I talked to Lucio earlier, who's going to replace Perry. He said a crop of guys.
I'd like to see some play action right here.
And Payne.
Harris gets it, tripped up. Does he get into the end zone? Yes, he does. Touchdown, Antioch. And with minute and 36 seconds to go, Antioch, 3rd possession of the game following a fumbled kickoff this time, and they're in the end zone again, and it's 20-3 pending the 2-point conversion.
This is what Deer Valley struggled with last game. Giving up the ball in scoring position, giving the other team a great opportunity to score, and Antioch took advantage.
And they certainly did. Payne had a nice run. And here's Najee on another one, and Najee going to be very close, and he's not going to get there this time. So with 1:36 to go here in the opening quarter, the score remains 20-3. Well, there's something that's gone right. Only 1 of 3 on the 2-point conversions for the Panthers tonight.
Not only is it going to be interesting as we move forward and see what awaits Antioch in the playoffs, next week's going to be a big game because Pittsburgh lost to Monte Vista, who's rated above.
In a great game, by the way.
They beat California, who's still rated above Antioch, and then you got Clayton Valley, Deer Valley, Antioch, and Pittsburgh. Those are considered to be the big 6. The thing that's going to be interesting for Antioch is when they actually face some bad happening. You know, because it seems like they can just score at will, Tony.
Right.
Whenever they need to score a touchdown, they just give the ball to number 2. And
How
score
do
a
they handle the
touchdown.
situation when things don't go
When
well?
they don't go
Right.
well for them. And as you move on and teams are that much better, you're going to see that.
All right, here's the kickoff. And I think this is Green again. Green, and hit hard again before getting to the 20, or actually getting to the 25-yard line. So it's about a 20-yard return this time. And from the 25-yard line, it will be 1st and 10. Still a minute 28 to go in this opening quarter.
Not a big shock so far, Tony. This is pretty much what you might expect from a team that's undefeated with the kind of talent Antioch has. And Deer Valley still a little, Deer Valley's still kind of recovering from what's happened to them over the last 2 weeks.
Been a couple of tough losses, lost 3 in a row. And the Pittsburgh and Liberty game could have gone either way. Evans, under some pressure, makes a nice move to get away, trying to set up and throw. And this one will go out of bounds as he was out of the tackle box. Did have a couple of receivers, or at least one receiver in the area. It'll bring up 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, that time, he's got a good move coming out of the pocket. You know, the time he got sacked by Beltram, he had nowhere to go. But when he gets the ability to make a move, I don't know if you watched that game last night, Tony, Oregon and Arizona State.
Did not.
Oh, holy moly. That game went to midnight. It was 4 hours and 45 minutes long, 3 overtimes.
Yikes.
1,200 yards of total offense. It was crazy. He's got the same kind of moves as the kid at Oregon, the quarterback there.
3 wide receiver spread. Evans looking, he's got a man, got a completion across the 30, 35, across the 40, trying to stay in bounds. And it's Alexander, and he's going to go inside the 40 of Antioch and down to the 35-yard line. Big catch and run for Rayshawn, and a 1st down here for Deer Valley.
No, Alexander's showing his ability to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's done that a few times. He has a few receiving TDs.
Now, he has some very good numbers coming into this game for Alexander. 5.9, 1,059 yards, 132 a game, 15 touchdowns for Alexander this year. He's done very well out of that backfield running the ball, and that time with a big reception. And don't look now, guys, but the Wolverines can jump right back into this one, but Antioch's going to call timeout, and they want to talk it over.
You know, in order for there to be a really big little game next week, Pittsburgh needs to defeat Liberty tonight, and they are doing so. It is 10-0 with 3 minutes remaining in the 1st quarter.
Oh, I love that out-of-town scoreboard.
Yeah, we didn't have that when I went to school here, Tony, not unless a bird flew over
needed
and
a
dropped the
carrier
score
pigeon.
down into the carrier pigeon. What's Pittsburgh doing? I don't know. We didn't have that stuff back in our day.
What'd you do? Did you find that out, the next day?
A lot of times we found it out the next day. Back when we were growing up, we had a local newspaper, the Antioch Ledger, and it covered and Pittsburgh had a paper, the Pittsburgh Post-Dispatch. So you literally had local newspapers that were delivered to your door every day that didn't say Contra Costa Times or San Francisco Chronicle on them or Oakland Tribune. And there was no internet, there was no phone service, there was no app. You just, the next day, or you might see a guy the next morning at the JFL game, and you go, yeah, I heard Pittsburgh lost because my cousin went, and we ended up at Foster Freeze together.
And Luke, we only had 3 channels on our TV.
Yeah, that was the 70s, guys.
Yeah.
Live with it.
That wasn't fun.
I'm dressed like I'm from the 70s
I had 12
right now.
channels, Tony. I don't know about you.
Antioch shows blitz, and they get to the ball carrier in the backfield. Jonathan Lane was the ball carrier for Deer Valley, but that time blitzing right up the middle. And a couple of weeks in a row, Dan, what we're seeing is we're under a minute to go in the quarter. The A gap, the space between the guard and the center on both sides, Antioch dominated that last week on offense, dominated that last week on defense, and they made a lot of hay. Maybe they run those power
Aren't
power
all gaps
runs.
in Antioch's A gaps?
Yes,
I
but they
just
run the
love it.
power, they run those counters, they make sort of a big part of their offense around that.
Not many
They didn't
people
need
run
it at
up
all
the middle
last
on
year.
Antioch. That's true.
Last week,
you have to
too,
go out.
yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, in any games we've seen, you got to go outside. You got to throw the ball to the sideline or down the field.
2nd and 10. And hit and brought to the backfield. Big tackle. Looks like, is it Kobe Beltram again? Boy, and you can hear the pads pop all the way up here, and that will do it for the opening quarter.
Actually, right by us is Richie Beltram. I see him right there.
All right. Panther football on Delta TV. Sponsored by Redwood Painting Company since 1947. Applicators of protective coating system for industry.
In this first quarter play.
It's kind of like what we expected. They're a very athletic team, so I know they're going to make big plays. It's just how we're going to respond to it. So I expect big plays from them, and we just got to control our defense and hold them off.
And it looks like
Tony,
you're doing a
some
great
first
job
quarter
against the
stats.
run and also running the ball.
Evans,
Anything you would like to see your
5
team
of
work
8
on
for
here
84
in the
yards.
rest
That
of these
one
3
big
quarters?
pass to Alexander, but
I think
Alexander's
a little
been
bit more
held
pass
up.
rush.
-3 yards
I
rushing
think
by
we're getting a little
Antioch
too
defense.
wild on the outside, letting the
Najee
quarterback
was
run
2
around,
for
so
2
we'll work on that.
30 yards.
All right,
Of
thank you,
course,
Coach.
Najee
And back up
Harris,
to you
8
guys
carries,
in the
101
booth.
yards and 3 touchdowns, plus a 2-point conversion. He scored all of Antioch's points so far tonight.
Not a surprise. Of course, he did come with all those touchdowns, but a lot of other touchdowns scored by Antioch. I think I read where they had over 50 touchdowns coming into this game tonight, Dan. So Najee has, about half of those, but still a lot of touchdowns nonetheless. Here comes some pressure. Evans throws, man coverage down the field. This one's going to be intercepted inside the 10. Out of the 20, 25 coming across the field, cuts it back. At the 25, gets it across the 30, and it's going to be Antoine Tanner, number 7, who makes the interception, and Antioch with the football again, and a nice return by Tanner to set up the Panthers one more time.
Tanner, he led JV last year in touchdowns. He came up this year, just a big play waiting to happen. Finally did it today. First interception on the varsity level.
Their safeties and defensive backs are well coached. It's amazing how much you see. There's a simple thing. You got to turn around to see the ball, and I don't see guys doing that. The higher up you go, it seems the less they turn around and the more they interfere. That was a great play that time. Not only did he make the play and defend the Deer Valley player,
Is it
but
a
he
situation
made the catch, and that was not an easy ball to catch.
Is it a situation you're chasing a lot faster people the higher up the chain you
they
go?
might be a little faster,
A little
Tony.
bit, probably.
I mean, maybe if they don't play around here.
Antioch with it again. Here comes that end around, and it's going to be a nice gain out across the 40-yard line to about the 41-yard line, and that was the run by Ryan Payne.
A lot of people know about that one too, Tony. They're starting to figure that play out as Payne. He's run that a lot this year, and if you saw the highlights of the Acalanes game, he ran it for 2 touchdowns. I think guys know that one. They're going to have to probably think of another. One of these days, that plays. There's going to be a fake and another move, and it's going to be a big play.
No, he's been running that play since his sophomore year, his first year on varsity. I talked to him before practice one time during the summer, and he said, I invented that play.
I think it's been around a little longer
Norm
than
Van
that.
Broeklen might have invented that play.
They're going to go for it again, and he's got room again out across the 50. It's Payne. 30, 20, 10. Touchdown, Ryan Payne, and Antioch all over Deer Valley in the first half.
What you saw there, Tony, was a good play and sprinter speed. He was running behind Deer Valley Wolverine defenders, and then he just went through them and sprinted into the end zone. I mean, that kind of speed, you know what they say, you can't teach it.
58 yards on that run by Payne. 10:58 to go, and boy, it is getting late early here for the Deer Valley Wolverines as they're down 26-3. Here's that bunch formation, direct snap to Najee, and he just moves right into the end zone for that 2-point conversion.
So Payne, a 50-yard run on the reverse. Harris, so the only problem there is that broke the streak of Najee scoring every point, Tony. Now he's given 6 up to Najee. 22-6 for Antioch on that count. A a 39-yard field goal for Rodriguez, and then, of course, 3 Harris touchdowns in that one. Antioch 28-3. Go ahead, Tony.
Redwood Painting Company since 1947. Applicators of protective coating systems for industry. 925-432-4500. That's Redwood Painting Company. And HKIT Architects. Architecture that enriches the community and environment. Thank you so much for your support. We could not do it without you. 28-3. And folks, we are barely through one quarter. Just a minute, 2 seconds into the second quarter. And Deer Valley trailing now by 25 points. Out across the 25. And that was Dolo on the return. So he gets out to the 25-yard line. That'll set up 1st and 10 here for Deer Valley, but a whole lot of work to do for the Wolverines. And look, if you look at it this way, and you know, matchups you just never know from week to week, but you look how well Deer Valley played against Pittsburgh. This has to bode well for Antioch going into the Pittsburgh game next Saturday.
Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago, that game against Pittsburgh, and Deer Valley has gone through a lot since then. Coaching changes, the controversy, a lot of people looking down on them from the outside looking in. So, you know, it's been a rough 2 weeks for them.
3 wide receivers spread. We'll throw that little hitch pattern. Got a blocker out in front, but a tackler across the line of scrimmage and to make the play. Good looking play that time by Cameron Nathan, number 24. They had 1 blocker out in front, but they had 3 defenders of the Panthers in the vicinity, and they make the play after maybe a yard gain.
And other than that one long pass on their first drive, they have not been able to get the ball outside of their wide receivers, Tony. Everything's going to the backs or on that short hitch pass to Gould. Down 28-3, you're going to have to start moving the ball and quickly.
And find somehow to get off the field offensively, and he right in the backfield, throwing the back down to the ground. Big loss that time, and that looked like
he's not on the roster. We're going to have to get his
number
name.
74, I believe. We're going to have to find out who that is. Do not have a 74 on the roster.
We'll try to find that out for you.
In any event, he made a great play.
Well, I think that was the problem. Deer Valley doesn't have him on the roster either, and he was basically, I think the play was almost called for him.
Deer Valley did not have him on the blocking scheme that time because he was into the backfield immediately and hits the Wolverines for a loss. And now the Wolverines going to come up in a 3rd down and very long as they need to get to the 39. Call it 3rd down and 18 for the Wolverines. Handoff, Harris, just a couple of yards for Ray Sean as he gets out across the 25 to the 26-yard line. Jonathan Lane actually was the ball carrier that time, number 30 on the short gain. That'll bring up 4th down and time to punt for the Wolverines.
And this just gets uglier and uglier for Deer Valley.
It's really a shame, Dan, because, you know, we talked about the close games they played lately against Pittsburgh and Liberty, and those games could have gone either way. And Luke just mentioned some of the troubles that they've had over the last couple of weeks, but they are just being absolutely flattened by what looks to be a completely superior football team in the Antioch Panthers. This one punted away. Going to come and take this one at the 35-yard line, cross the 40, coming to the outside, stumbles a bit, gets out across midfield, and get hit down. That's Payne again with that speed.
That's a horrible call, too. They're calling a penalty on that block, and that's a horrible call. The guy hit him in the shoulder, and there's just no way that call should have been made from that point in the field.
So a 25-yard return. Looks like that will be negated following this penalty. And we'll see where it happened. They'll mark it off against the Panthers. But and again, Dad, does it really matter where they start?
Hey, the man who threw the flag was like the 3rd closest referee to the play.
Yeah, he wasn't even in the vicinity. That flag should never have been thrown. And I don't rip on refs very often because I umpire softball and I referee youth basketball, and I don't like getting ripped on.
You've heard it.
Just saying, from 50 yards away, that was not a block in the back. The guy hit him in the shoulder. He came right up. And the other guy, you could see he didn't hurt him, and he didn't hit him from behind and throw him down.
So instead of starting this drive in Deer Valley territory, the Panthers will start this one at the 43-yard line. It looked like that was number 77, Dan, coming into the ball game for the Antioch Panthers. And now Deer Valley wants to call a timeout. They do here with 8:26 to go here in this opening half. The 2015 Mayor's Cup, 8 wins in this series, Luke, for Antioch, but 2 in a row has been tough to come by. All right, Bothman Construction, our entire team is dedicated to achieving the highest possible quality on every project. That's Bothman Construction, Tailgater Sports Bar and Grill, 4605 Golf Course Road in Antioch. Watch a replay of tonight's game later on tonight at Tailgaters, and thanks for the delicious crew meal. We thank all of our sponsors. We could not do it without you.
Hey, Antioch's doing well in this game, and Pittsburgh is doing just as well. They're about to start the second quarter. They're up 17-0 at Liberty.
So over in Brentwood, the Pirates making the Lions walk the plank so far as they're taking care of business.
That's a good
down
one.
Highway 4.
Walk the plank. I like that.
First down and 10. Newman back to pass, throws into coverage. Tight coverage there on the intended receiver, and the pass a little bit high, and it goes awry, and it'll bring up second down and 10. But really just for a moral victory here, Luke, for the Wolverines. Can they get off the field here? They have not been able to do it all night long.
Yeah, I talked to the coaches what a win against Antioch would mean, and he said it would lift the morale of the entire school.
Tim Dorsey.
Harris gets across the 40, a bunch of bodies on him. Play's
Now,
still going. And
Tony, I'm just real quick though. If you're watching that, that's how you stop him.
There it is.
That's it. I had
That's
to jump
the plan?
in there and get it for you because you're not seeing it very much.
So have 6 guys around him and push the pile back.
He still doesn't.
Everybody
go down.
hold on. Okay.
Sorry, Andrew, but that was the first time I think we've seen it like that in the 4 games we've done. That's how you stop him.
Before the game, defensive coordinator Dennis Taylor of Deer Valley, I said, how are you going to stop Najee? He said, 11 guys at him. That's all he said, nothing else.
Harris again tries the left side, stutter step, tries to turn the corner and does somewhat. He's going to be held short of the first down as he gets near midfield. They're going to mark it down at about the 49-yard line, leave him a couple of yards close, but this area of the field with this lead, certainly they'll go for it on 4th down.
Oh, I think, when you talk to Lucido about all this, they don't have special teams, they don't kick field goals, they don't kick extra points. They probably go for it from anywhere, especially, 4th and 1 with a guy that averages 18 yards a carry.
Why not? All right, 4th down, call it 2 as they need to get just about a yard inside of Deer Valley territory.
Here comes Tanner.
Tanner in motion. They're going to give it to the up back, and that's, I think, Fene Hafoka who's going to get the ball, and he's going to pick up about 5 yards and the first down.
I think
that's a good call.
I think that may have been Beltram on the play.
It was Beltram.
So that will be first down for Antioch.
That's another guy that don't go down easy, but he puts you down easy. It's not very hard for that guy. Either side of the ball, he's a beast.
To the 45-yard line. Here's Newman with the fake, the rollout, fires, got a man wide open. It's Hafoka inside the 20, inside the 10, touchdown! Fene Hafoka from 45 yards out, and Newman Najee with the fake. Everybody bought it, and Dan, the tight end, was wide open.
Over the middle of the field, and you see, at some point, somebody is going to say, all right, this is it. I ain't letting Harris beat me. I don't care if I put 11 guys in the box. He ain't going to beat me. Let all these other guys beat you. Well, guess what? They can.
Hey, he wasn't the only guy open in that play. I think I saw about 2 other guys. He was the right decision, though. He was the only one who would have scored.
Wide open over the middle of the field following the fake. Harris with a jump pass. It's going to be incomplete. Boy, haven't seen the jump pass like that in a long time.
I'm trying to think of the last guy that did the jump pass. Who was it?
Tebow?
Who?
Tebow?
No, he couldn't jump. There are some guys that do it, but
I'm thinking when the jump pass kind of went out of style in the 60s, didn't it?
Well, Harris has been doing it the past couple of years.
Bobby Douglas?
And the way he threw it, it wasn't a jump and throw with one. He was shooting a jump shot.
Hey, that's his style of throwing. He's been doing that past couple seasons. I've seen him do it for the first time last year against San Leandro in the playoffs.
Well, Well, it doesn't work here. That's the only thing, Luke, that's gone awry here for Antioch is that they've missed now, I think 3 2-point conversions tonight.
Yeah, that is about the only thing that has went wrong for Antioch in this game tonight.
34-3 in favor of the Panthers. And this one has gotten ugly early. And this one's going to be taken about the 9-yard line. Cross the 20, cross the 25 to about the 26-yard line. So about 17 yards on the carry for the return, and it'll be 1st and 10 for the Wolverines. But this one, Dan, now with so much time left, has completely gotten away from Deer Valley.
And you got to think to yourself, I mean, you don't want to tell anyone to give up. Obviously, you're not going to do that, but it's almost like, what do we have to do to even, can we just get a touchdown on the board at this point?
Right.
One thing to remember, though, Antioch has had big leagues the last 2 weeks, and people have come back on them. Freedom came back, Liberty came back, so let's see what happens. Do they?
Boy, battling here. And
I think there was a fumble,
yards, and now a flag comes in
came
late.
back to a Deer Valley guy. I don't know if that's a flag, Tony. I think that was a marker.
Okay, something spilled onto the field, and I assumed it was a flag. And actually, one other thing that's going very well for Antioch, again, we're not seeing them being flagged all that much tonight. They've certainly been penalized a lot before this.
Yeah, Deer Valley recovered the fumble, and then they were just marking the ball ahead. So what I was saying, though, Tony, Antioch's given up, and I asked Coach Lucido about that, and what he said was, yeah, we might ease off a little once we're up with a big score. You know, kids' mentality, like I said, these guys have yet to play that big, giant game. Next week is probably the biggest game that any of these people have ever played at in their career, if the scores hold that we see now.
2nd down and 5. Evans back, rolling, fires, and in and out of the hands of the intended receiver up near the 35-yard line. And now we have an injured Antioch Panther on the field, so we'll have an injury timeout here coming with 5:21 to go here in this second quarter.
And that's Tim Dorsey, who we did identify as number 74 for Antioch.
Now, Verde Design, professional sports, landscape architecture, civil engineering, sports planning, and design. That's Verde's Design. RGM Construction Managers, specializing in coordinating design and construction of public facilities. And so we thank you so very much for your support.
We neglected to mention tonight's officials, Orrin Cross. Now, Orrin Cross, this is an interesting story, Tony. You know what Orrin Cross used to be?
No.
The band director for Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow. Miss Martinez.
You don't want to say that too loud around the Deer Valley people.
I've had a chance to mention, get to know Miss Martinez a little bit, who's the coordinator over there now for them. And of course, world famous, really.
World famous.
Into London and so many other places. I think it's Hawaii that they're going this year.
Robert Carlton, Frank LaScala, Tom Liatini, and Patrick Llewellyn are our officials tonight. And they're doing a very good job, other than that one call, which I didn't agree with. But, you know, we can agree to disagree on one call.
But I think one thing that they've done so much better tonight, Dan, after some of these calls, they are getting the next play started much earlier. They were having some problems with that the last couple of weeks. And nothing can kill the momentum of a game like deciding where we're supposed to spot the ball or how far we're supposed to mark it off, whatever it is. And they've done much better in that respect here tonight.
And that is true. On the Antioch sideline tonight, John Lucido, Brett Dudley, of course, John's the defensive coordinator, Wilson Pica, Chris Henry, Mike Weiscarver, Josh Bula, Juan Corral, the former Pittsburgh Pirate quarterback, who'll be returning to his alma mater next week, Scott Adams, Willie Stembridge, and Maury Susu. Of course, the principals, Louis Roach and my old buddy back from, we played Babe Ruth together, Tony. Wanted me to mention that to you back in the 70s.
3rd down and 5 here for Deer Valley. Going to get out across the 35 to about the 36. That's Alexander on the carry. He's going to pick up about 3 yards, Dan, and going to leave him about 2 yards short of the first down, and I don't see any choice but to go for it here. We talked about it earlier. Field position is not a big factor in Antioch football here in 2015.
Yeah, what's punting going to do right now? Just give them the ball 30 yards farther back? They can get that usually in one play. And one thing I didn't even mention on that last touchdown, did you see the speed of the tight end for Antioch on that play? Afoko, he took that and he ran just as fast as the other guys. I mean, they have amazing assemblage of talent on this team.
He has been the leading receiver, has Finney, on this on this club. And it looks like somebody jumped up front, and apparently he's going to go against Deer Valley, and it looks like they're going to bring out the punting unit now. So this goes against the Wolverines. It'll bring up 4th down and 6 instead of 4th and 1. Illegal procedure, the call. And the Wolverines will definitely have to move back, and it looks like they will kick this football away.
And that's not a great play because your wide receiver was the guy who moved, and their defensive back was 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. It's not like he was up making him maneuver. They're bringing a great rush.
Again,
that's
and
a
they
rushing.
actually make contact.
They just roughed the
There
punter.
is the flag, so that will be roughing. Here comes the return, but this is all for naught. But look at Ryan Payne go all the way to the end zone, but this will not count. As unfortunately for Antioch, they were able to get in there, nearly block that one, and now they come up with another injured player.
Looks like an Antioch guy is down.
I think the Antioch guy who flew into the punter is hurt, but that's an interesting call in a way. At some point, you got to call off the Wolves. There's no reason to block a punt with a 31-point lead.
Well, and guys, we've seen in the past few weeks when Najee's put up these huge numbers and he's come out. Remember a few weeks ago, Danny, I believe he only had like 10 carries in a space of time and with a ton of yards. You got to think the week coming up, you got the playoffs coming up. How much more do you need to keep running your star?
Yeah, I don't really expect him to get the ball at all on this drive, at least.
Well, here's the interesting thing, though, that is being played out, the psychological little game that's being played out here is Antioch for 10 years was horrible. And I don't think that's shocking anyone to say that. They averaged 3 wins a season. And now this is fun. Hey, we're beating up Deer Valley. Deer Valley beat them up a lot, and at what point do you say that's enough beating up? That's enough Najee Harris. That's enough trying to block punts. It's like a baseball game, right? When do you stop stealing bases, stop suicide squeezing, stop doing things, the unwritten rules of the game, so to speak. One thing I will say is it's not before halftime. Before halftime, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? After halftime, then you're going to have to start thinking, and you're going to have to start thinking ahead to next week because Pittsburgh, seriously, guys, is a whole nother step ahead of just about every team Antioch's played.
Yeah, you mentioned Antioch not being good for the past 10 years. This is the 19th annual Mayor's Cup. Deer Valley has won 10 of those, and out of the last 11 Mayor's Cup, Deer Valley has won 9 of those. Antioch hasn't won 2 consecutive Mayor's Cup since 2003.
Yeah, Tony, you weren't here then, but we did the first ever football game between Deer Valley and Antioch, and there was an interesting sideline to that game. Do you know what it was?
I have no idea.
It was the JV game. There was no varsity the first year.
That's right. I think Luke was talking about that earlier.
1996, I believe it was. Me and Dave Taxier, one of my old color
Division
commentators.
5, you said? And then the very next year they went to Division 1. Evans throws, got a man, this one's going to be short. Coming back for the ball and making the adjustment is Rayshawn Alexander, who was there but could not make the catch. He had beaten the double team. Evans' throw way short. Alexander making the necessary adjustment to him, but then could not make the grab.
That's a tough throw, Tony. He threw it across the field, 50 yards in the air. I mean, the kid's got a decent arm. I just, at this point, you're kind of sitting there thinking, what do we do? Do we throw long and try to score on some big plays? To me, they were working the sideline pretty good with passes and over the middle, and Alexander out of the backfield. If you can get Alexander one-on-one with a guy, he can make the tackler miss. So, I mean, there's plenty of time, but they got to do something positive here before halftime.
2nd down and 10. Elijah got it. Handoff, and good defense that time by the Panthers as they stack it up pretty nicely.
Do you remember the score of the first ever Mayor's Cup? It was actually in 1997.
I know we did. I think we did. It was 21-19.
Not necessarily. It was 55-6.
Oh, that was the next year. I think it was 20. It was close.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
21-20 Antioch victory.
And that was Deer Valley missed a field goal in the last play of the game. Yeah, we did both of those. The first game was a blowout here. The second game was close at Deer Valley.
3rd down and 10. Wolverines trying to keep this one alive. Elijah back under pressure quickly. Rolls to the near side, throws on the run over the middle, and this one is going to be incomplete. 2 wide receivers in the vicinity that time. And, of course, after that play broke down, everybody's trying to improvise, and they come off their routes that time. But still, you hate to see 2 wide receivers in the same area.
Yeah, Antioch has won 6 of the past 7. 6 of the first 7 Mayor's Cups, and the past 11, Deer Valley has won 9.
It's an interesting rivalry that, like you guys wouldn't understand what it was like before Deer Valley. I mean, when it was Antioch and Pittsburgh, that's all you thought about. Now you have other teams you got to kind of think about a little bit, especially when Deer Valley plays Antioch. In my day here, obviously there was no Deer Valley, and it was all Antioch-Pittsburgh.
Well, this is Payne again with a head of steam out across the 50. Ryan Payne, no flags this time. Dumped as he gets inside the 35 to about the 33-yard line, and boy, he has looked absolutely electric tonight.
Well, he's making a case for getting some more plays, and like I said, they're going to need these guys as they move ahead. But how would you like to have the 3 guys they have, Payne, Beltram, and Harris? I mean, any team would like to have one of them. They have all 3 of them, and these guys are all probably going to be playing football somewhere on Saturdays after they graduate from here.
Well, Ryan Payne, certainly a D1 talent. Kobe, I guess the Pac-12 has been looking awfully closely, and the Pac-12 wants you to play. I don't think there's too many other conferences in the nation that wouldn't want you to play for.
Well, Cal could use someone who can tackle.
Yeah, he's a 3-star recruit on Scout.com. Yeah, a lot of people are looking at him at nickelback.
Probably a guy like that, a little on the smaller side, would end up playing in the defensive backfield rather than at linebacker. Najee throws for the corner. He's got a man caught, spilled right at the goal line. They're going to mark it down inside the 1-yard line. 1st and goal for Antioch.
I think this is the Ryan Payne I want to be included in the newspaper clippings as well game, because he has been unbelievable tonight.
Boy, it looked like he ran just kind of a wheel route coming out there, Dan, and he was open on that one-on-one coverage down the field, and Newman Najee threw a very nice ball.
But he went and outran the ball.
Yeah, he did.
That ball, there's other guys that on the field right now that couldn't have caught up with that pass, and Payne's one of the guys that can.
Well, 1st and goal, still 2:29 and counting here in this first half. Set up on the goal line. Here is the Panthers, and now a whistle blows this play dead. Half the distance to the goal makes it 1st and goal from about the 2-inch line at this point. So here are the Panthers. Go straight ahead, and they are into the end zone again. So the Panthers up and down the field, and that drive really belonged to Ryan Payne.
And that was Beltram, who's, I mean, really, you're looking at the 3 superstars tonight taking over for Antioch.
I think Beltram had about 80 yards on that punt return and reception combined.
It just goes to show you don't just need Harris, and that has been mentioned to me a couple of times by their coaches. Don't think it's just Harris, but if you don't he doesn't take up all your attention, then you got to worry about these other 2 guys. And you know what might be the most surprising of all this is the starting quarterback, Newman Najee. He's pretty good. And he's like invisible half the time. This kid's thrown for almost 1,200 yards, folks. 16, maybe 17 touchdowns now. I mean, he's
having
good.
A fine year. So Antioch still looking for this 2-point conversion. Now it looks like they're going to line up and kick this one.
Uh-oh. This Vegas has odds on this, actually.
What are the odds? 1 and 2?
Well, someone's wearing number 34. That is not Nick Perry because he's not playing. So we have a Nick Perry impersonator on to kick the field goal. Maybe the JV kicker's up or something.
Maybe that was the only jersey available.
Hold, and the kick is good.
If that had hit someone in the head, it would have hurt him.
2:13 to go, and Antioch's lead now has ballooned to 41-3. And on so many of these big runs, we talked about the different ways that Najee can get open and get around people using the straight arm. That's become a tool of his. And Beltram saw one of these, and he said, on the floor, gonna score, as Najee went around and just stuck out that straight arm and dumped a defender right to the ground. And Brett Dudley the offensive coordinator. He was the PE teacher of Najee last year, and he told me that he's just such a very positive guy. And, you know, here's a guy, Dan, who doesn't seem to get caught up in all this stardom. He kind of takes it pretty easy with the fame that he's got.
Well, if you were talking to someone on the phone right now and you told them, well, Harris only has 109 yards rushing, you go, oh, is it close?
Not bad.
I know, it's 41-3 because Hafoka has 3 receptions for 75 yards. Payne has 2 punt returns that put him in great field position. And Najee is yet to throw he's thrown 1 incompletion. He's 4 of 5 for 107 yards.
That was Adrian Dolo on the return. He's going to be stopped at about the 12-yard line. So Dolo not able to get too far on that last kick return. 2:04 to go here in the first half, but it's 41-3 in favor of the Panthers. And the Wolverines going to get another shot at it, but right now they are being absolutely annihilated with more than a half of football to play.
And Tony, this Antioch gets the ball to start the second half. So you got to right now it's almost like just manage the clock and hopefully they don't score again or nothing else bad happens, because I mean it could be a 50-point lead early in the third quarter the way this game's going.
And I'll tell you, Dan, it gets to one of these points where you got a lot of other guys. As we look down on the Antioch sideline here, Luke, and they go to practice and work hard too, and
they want to play.
It's a good time to get them some playing time.
I see Nick Perry right there on the sideline, 34. So they have 2 of those jerseys?
Yeah, someone was wearing 34, the kicker.
Did they just take off his pads just now?
That makes it confusing. But
that does make, well, it's high school football, Tony. We don't expect it to be.
Dan, have we ever had one time where we've had both?
Tony, all the stuff that we have to do, if you just move one level up, even in like Division 1A, it's all done for you. You don't have to do any of this stuff that we do. They give you a starter sheet. They give you a depth chart. They give you a roster with pronunciations. They give you the coaching staff. They give you all the stats. We got to do all that stuff ourselves.
I think that was 84 for Antioch. We don't have it
on
here,
the roster.
But I saw him.
We need a new roster.
I saw him down there on the sideline. Pretty sure it was him.
Oh, some nice running here, picking his way through. A flag flies in at the very end.
I looked at his jersey. The number's really big. You can't really see it. It kind of cuts off onto the side of his body, so it did look like 34 from a certain angle.
Okay, but we'll sit here and complain about that a little bit. Okay, I once with our good friend Matt did a rugby game. The players, no numbers on their jerseys. So there you go. Now, talk about something to complain about.
Northgate Soccer once they had yellow numbers on a white jersey. You couldn't see it through a telescope.
And I think our friend Luke was with his partner here doing the preseason game, the practice game. No numbers on the jerseys, guys. I commend you.
You just make stuff up. You're like, oh, that's a nice pass to Eddie Van Halen over there on the sideline. Great pass by Barack Obama. I loved it.
Thankfully, I've spent enough time with Antioch's team where I could kind of see them by body type.
Wow. That is a tough call there.
You can do that like in soccer when you can see their hair, but it's hard with a helmet on.
Handoff. And this one going to be spilled right around the line of scrimmage. So short gain, if any, as we tick down to 40 seconds and counting here in this first half. And it's certainly a first half to forget if you're the Deer Valley Wolverines.
And you could say that about the previous 8 opponents for Antioch.
It's been a lot of them.
I mean,
when you look at that game log, Dan, you're seeing, a lot of 50-point games. As I said, 5 times they've hit over 50. One other time they got to 46. And they had opening week, they put up the 62 against Acalanes. Handoff, cross the 30. Across the 40, a nice looking run that time, and that was Jonathan Lane, number 30, getting out across midfield. Just a couple of ticks to go here as they set these chains, and actually timeout here for the Wolverines. So they will have one more play with a couple of ticks left on this second quarter clock.
And that's good. Hey, 3 seconds, try to make something positive happen. Throw a ball in the end zone.
Not much to lose if you're the Wolverines.
And Deer Valley probably, if they lose this game, it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs, even though some teams, and I know it's hard to believe, but there are teams with losing records due to the way the divisions are set up that can sometimes still make the playoffs due to strength of schedule, due to who they played and who they beat in other games. But it'll be tough for Deer Valley to make the playoffs.
That happened last year in the NCS Division 1. Monta Vista made it. They were 4-6 in regular season. They didn't even get the last seed. They got the 12th of 13 seeds. Heritage got the last seed, and they were 5-5.
I think that's called our history. Because Monta Vista, they're one of those teams that you almost always look at them and go, that's a top 5 team.
Right.
I think their reputation got them that bid. This year they're back being Monta Vista again.
Right. It was actually their first year back in Division 1. They had been in Division 2 for a few years. Actually, maybe their second year in D1, but yeah.
All right, last play of the first half. Evans back, Hail Mary time. Here comes the rush, and he's going to be hit and dropped. And that will end the first half of play with a commanding lead for the home team of the 2015 Mayor's Cup. It's the Panthers 41 and the Wolverines 3.
And it's Steve Sanchez. Yes. I just want to make sure. I'm here live with Antioch AD Steve Sanchez, and the Panthers are firmly in control here tonight. Steve, so tell us, obviously we know the football team will be off to the playoffs here with one game left with Pittsburgh next week, but tell us a little bit about the upcoming sports season, including starting with basketball.
Yes, get started the 7th. And Andrew Riva, our boys basketball coach, is smiling a little bit. We have some outstanding people out there. He's got a good schedule put together. They've been working hard in the off season. So they ended last year in the playoffs, playing very well. So we're excited. And, with the new venue here and everything, and things are kind of going pretty good right now, everybody's excited. So we got interest of kids coming out that we're waving a little bit, so it looks good. Our girls, Dorvez Bennett, he is a new coach, so he brings in a lot of energy, so forth. So they're going to get started also on the 7th.
And is there any rumor, we're hearing little rumblings that number 2 here on the gridiron will be on the hardwood this winter. Is there any rumors to that?
Well,
or any truth to that?
Yeah, I'm not the one to say, but he is a true athlete, and I sure wouldn't want him to get bored during the winter time. So it'd be a nice activity for him. But he is multiple sport athlete. Yeah.
And speaking about multiple sports, actually, you are one of the very few that has actually coached 2 teams to the state championship in wrestling. Tell us, what has that been like watching the wrestling program here at Antioch High School?
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I was in Merced. Tough kids, the Valley kids. We won the state tournament. We ran away with it by a half a point. And of course, we were 9 out of 10 years we were in the top 10, always beating around. Come to Antioch, my hometown. Got very fortunate. Got hooked up with the Golden State Wrestling Club, and they're going good. But to bring on what's going to happen next, so we're keeping it in the family. I hired my cousin's son, I guess it would be called second cousin, Aaron Perez. He wrestled for King's College in Pennsylvania. So we brought a little of the family into the wrestling situation this year. So I'm excited because I have family. Of course, there's a little pressure on me now to help them out a little bit.
All right. Thank you, Steve. And back to you guys up in the booth as the Panthers are up huge here at halftime.
got all the stats, and he's going to pick them up on the ground. What'd you do, pull the plug?
Hey, David, money green? That's all I care about.
What's happening to the Sharks? No power?
No power play. Just not clicking. Now, Oren Cross, he's the former Pittsburgh. Yeah, that's what I said. I said you don't want to say Pittsburgh band too loud in the Deer Valley. It's silent.
But yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen him as a referee. He's been a side judge and I've been a line judge and everything else.
They're doing a good job. I thought they only missed that one call. On that punt return, they called their kid for blocking the back.
Yeah.
He got inside his shoulder. He was right here when he hit it. And the guy who called it was over 35 yards away, and there were two other refs, one here and one here.
But that happens all the time. You know.
I haven't thrown a flag tonight. I need to throw a flag so I can feel validated. This is just Jesus.
Huh? Didn't you expect it?
Yeah, but here's what you got to start thinking about too. Your Valley lost to them by 3. If they wanted to, they could win this game 8-3.
I think that's probably
really tried.
I mean, 41 unanswered points.
I'm just saying, 41 minutes, if they played as hard as they can, they can win this game 8-3. So does that mean that they can beat Pittsburgh by 60 points?
Well, let's hope so. That's what Harold, did you read that? Did you read Harold's deal? He said, we're holding back on Antioch to see what they do against Pittsburgh.
Once again, it's 50-50 raffle time. Tonight's winning numbers are worth $215. All right, tonight's ticket is a white ticket. Those winning numbers are 4, 7, 2, 1, 4, 4. Once again, the winning ticket numbers are 4, 7, 2, 1, 4, 4. If you are the possessor of tonight's winning ticket, please come up to the press box and collect your winning. We're looking for the owner of a black Jeep Cherokee, license number 3PBS392. Once again, we're looking for the owner of a black Jeep Cherokee, license number 3PBS392. We need to remove your vehicle. Your vehicle was blocking. Once again, Jeep Cherokee, black Jeep Cherokee, license plate 3PBS.
You got to complete more than 6 passes that aren't into the ground.
You're a team that wins 4 or 5 games a year for a decade. You lose the kind of games that you think you should win, and then you realize, no, we shouldn't win them because we stink. That's what usually happens. I was listening to Colin Cowherd on the Herd today, guys.
Yeah.
Who? Colin Cowherd. Who? The Herd. Radio. Colin
From
Cowherd,
ESPN.
ESPN. Now he's on Fox.
Okay.
Talking about
Listen to people talking on the radio.
talking about Tom Brady, and he said he has never seen anybody play quarterback position better. Since we got a blowout here, guys, we might as well kind of open this up a little bit and start talking whatever, right?
Still not Joe Montana.
Man,
Oh, I
yeah.
think he's.
We can talk more about.
Because I mean, let's face it, guys. We just don't need
Yeah.
to be on every play now.
Yeah, we can talk more about
We need to talk about the upcoming playoff stuff.
Talk about personal information. I know about players. You know, I know about
Yeah.
them
I'm just saying.
Is that a wig?
Why wouldn't it be?
Well, I was hoping it was, because if that's your hair, we're
Guys,
going to
I'm just saying. If you want to talk about something else, go ahead. We got a lot
Talk
of time
about the
to
big
go.
little people next week.
You can jump in the bell game, too. Sure. You could ask me at some point, like in the fourth quarter, what's my the most vivid big little game memory or something like that.
I'm right now. An article.
Actually, it's the day I got my haircut for the first time I played all year.
And we're live. Well, we're about to kick off.
Guys, that's program monitor.
Yay. When we don't need it.
Are we starting?
Here's that pooch kick and the land, the 33-yard line. Big tackle as we start the third quarter. Antioch going to get the football first. A 41-3 lead for Antioch. Panther football right here on National Prep Stars and Delta TV. Anthony Schultz along with Luke Johnson and Dan Wall. Mike Cronenwet on the field.
Have we went to Mike tonight?
Panthers, we have gone to Mike tonight.
Well,
you didn't know
I
it,
didn't
but
know
we
it.
did.
I just wanted to make sure. Now it's going to be interesting. I don't think we're going to see Najee Harris unless you're sitting down on the bench talking to him.
And there's Najee with those totals for tonight.
I think those passing yards are for Najee.
Looks like number 28 is in the ball game. Victor Ramos for Antioch at the back.
Newman back, throws deep down the field, looking for Ryan Payne, who makes the leap, can't make the catch. There defensively, number 15, Adrian Dolo, but you saw Payne make the adjustment coming back for the ball, and the safety was coming over the top for some help, but was late. Pass incomplete will bring up second down and 10.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Tony. This is going to be a rough half to call. But what we'll try to do is get you updated on scores on next week's game, which will be a big game. Maybe some playoff talk in the. And Jeeb is they're actually. I think this is a good move, but you don't want to throw too many long passes with the score being what it is. But Najee needs to work on some of his passing, maybe some rollouts and stuff, because they're going to probably need it as they move forward.
Well, he looked certainly good, Dan, a couple of times with that fake, rolling one way or the other, and then him throwing the ball. You really get the defense going after that run, and then when they've done that, of course, it's been wide open, but you certainly would expect that. But Antioch has been very effective with that type of play, and we've seen it here tonight. Good look at the Panthers right there. Third down and 10 for Antioch. Handoff, run out here across the 30, and that was 28 Victor Ramos, the ball carrier that time.
That's Omari Harris. It's supposed to be, they have the numbers mixed up. It's supposed to be him.
Okay. Number 28 is actually Omari Harris.
Yeah, another Harris. This kid's actually a sophomore. Lucido says he's a great prospect, a great future for this team. You expect him to get a lot of carries with Perry absent tonight.
Antioch gets an A for the first half and a F- for their roster.
No, I actually had a chance to meet Harris for the first time on Sunday in church.
Here's the punt, first punt of the ball game, and that one is muffed. There goes the marker down. That ball is loose. And let's see who got on
Deer
it, a
Valley
black
has
shirt
it
or a white shirt.
Yeah. No one from
Coming
Antioch is jumping up and down like, oh, I guess they do have
Coming
it.
up for it with that was number 43 for Antioch. And I'm taking a look at the roster here, and it goes from 32 to 34. And there is no number 33. And we are just getting uglier and uglier.
Oh, my gosh.
Luke, who was that?
Yeah, Luke, you might know.
Luke knows. We don't need a roster. We got Luke. But, yeah, Dan, I don't. This roster is just an absolute mess here tonight. And anyway, another turnover for the Deer Valley Wolverines. As now the Panthers take over inside the Deer Valley 40-yard line. Mark this one at about the 38-yard line. Handoff, left side, big hole. Plenty of running room that time, and that is going to be number 11, DeJuan Boyd. Got to call his name several times last week as he had a very good game. So you talk about, Dan, the depth on this team with talent. And Antioch, in the past, they just seemed like they had maybe a couple of good players. Now they seem like they have just a lot of good players.
Waves of good players. And, of course, their second string back is hurt, and Perry has impressed when he's played. Look at Boyd. Boyd's running
breaking
guys
tackles,
over.
Runs over a defender, gets inside the 5. Finally coming up to make the tackle, number 48 for Deer Valley, and that is Darius Johnson. But boy, a couple of defenders left in the wake of DeJuan Boyd after that run.
Yeah, a lot of players have filled in the hole for Perry, Boyd, Hafoka. We're going to see a lot of carries for Omari Harris tonight, so we'll see. We'll get a good look at him for the first time this season.
Omari in the backfield this time. Boyd's going to get it, and Boyd right near the goal line gets some help from his friends as they push him into the end zone. Touchdown, Antioch.
When I was talking to Lucido before the game, I said, who's going to fill in this hole? And the first name I brought up was Boyd. And he said he's going to get a lot of action in the wing spot. We saw the same play 3 times in a row right there.
And it worked very well. So DeJuan Boyd, and that follows the fumbled punt by Deer Valley. So, and again, Dan, it doesn't matter where Antioch starts, they always finish in your end zone.
That's their motto. That would be a good T-shirt, Tony.
Back to pass. Najee throws for the end zone, and that one is caught. Kobe Beltram for the 2-point conversion. And Antioch is just piling it on now. Still 10:05 to go here in the third quarter. So, guys, I guess this is a good time to start talking NCS playoffs, start talking big little game. I think you said the Bell game also coming up. Let's go ahead and expand our horizons and talk about something else other than the 2015 Mayor's Cup.
Just as long as the Rams 49er game is not part of the talk.
No NFL here until the fourth quarter.
Good. Well, De La Salle's sitting on top of the mountain like they always do. Maybe a little bit more susceptible than past years, but they're still there. While we do have a chance, though, Tony, here's the yardage. In the first half, Antioch gained 303 yards to 107. They had 196 running. Harris had 190. That might be the lowest total of since his 6th grade CFL game.
Here's the kickoff. Floating up there, taking it about the 8-yard line. Cross the 15, cross the 20, and out across the 25-yard line goes Nasir Green, the senior, and that's where the Deer Valley Wolverines will set up shop first out of 10.
Antioch had 107 yards passing in the first half. Deer Valley was 23 running. Antioch's run defense was great in the first half. They did have some success throwing the ball for 84 yards. But as you mentioned, penalties haven't been that big in this game, just 5 penalties
Much
overall.
Better.
2 turnovers for Deer Valley in the first half, a third now in the third quarter.
I mean, it seemed like the few games that we have seen, Dan, Antioch was doing so well, but the one thing that was a problem were the penalties, and you figure, at least with tonight, a whole lot better than they have in the last 8 ball games. Remember that one game where they scored 62, they made 20 penalties again in that Acalanes game. Here's that hitch pass on the far side of the field. Nice gain there for Adrian Dolo coming back to the formation. Jacob Rodriguez came over to make the stop, number 21.
Talking about the NCS playoffs, a lot of people trying to predict them. Some people have them at number 2 behind De La Salle in the seedings. Some have them behind Pittsburgh and behind Monte Vista. Another good team in NCS right now is Foothill. They're undefeated. So it's the top 5 of the NCS Division 1 is looking really strong right now.
And Dolo coming back to the formation, catching that pass, that quick pass again, and he will get the first down. And, just looking into this a little bit, Luke, that some of the prognosticators out there still kind of wondering, guys, a little bit about Antioch, Dan, as they said, hey, maybe they really haven't played anybody that's really that good yet. We want to see after the Pittsburgh game to really define who the Panthers are.
Yeah, Antioch, that name just carries a lot of doubters. And people won't believe them until they beat Pittsburgh, that they can beat Pittsburgh.
Which is kind of funny because they had a good season last year. It's not like they're absolutely brand new to success. And off, coming down the other side. Nice cut back, getting out to midfield. And that is Rayshawn Alexander making some nice moves, close to a first down for Rayshawn at about 9 yards on the pick. I'm actually going to make it 10, close to 11 as they mark this inside Antioch territory. They'll move the chains. First down for Deer Valley.
Yeah, Alexander is a quality running back. Kid has over 1,000 yards, and I can see where that injury last week might have slowed him down a little bit, but he's ran good when he's got outside. Here's another. That was a good block to get him outside on that one.
Makes a nice cut. Can't get away from the tackler there. That's Rodriguez again, number 21, in the open field. That was a pretty tackle right there for Antioch's number 21.
So, Tony, as we're talking about the playoffs, a lot of things we're going to have to wait till next week, obviously. It's going to depend on what happens and how much Antioch beats Pittsburgh by, to see how if they move up in the standings, because Pittsburgh has played Monte Vista and California.
All right, here we go. Alexander one more time picks up good yardage with that nice cutback as he gets inside the 45 to about the 41. Another 5-yard gain, and it'll bring up second down and 5.
I mean, that is if Antioch beats Pittsburgh. They haven't beaten them since 2006.
Boy, that is a long time ago.
This will be the 97th big little game.
Unbelievable.
And even if it's
unbelievable
9-0 Antioch, which it looks like it's going to be, and 8-1 Pittsburgh, in the big little game, you throw the records out the window. I've seen 1-8 teams beat 8-1 teams.
Of course, there's been some of these years where you couldn't throw the records out the window because Pittsburgh, with so many better players in some of these years, as Alexander picks up a nice gain, another first down, where Pittsburgh's come in with a superior record, Dan, and just blown away.
Yeah,
Antioch.
but we did a game 12, 13 years ago over there where Antioch was obviously not favored whatsoever and was 1-8, and they beat them. And that was a huge upset. So I'm just saying that game brings out emotion that you don't see in a regular, usual regular game. You might have seen it in this game, but it was quickly dissipated. You're like, there's my word of the night.
Hit as he throws, gets it to his man, touchdown! Devin Gold for the score, 34 yards away, and boy, how about the play by Elijah Evans with a man buried in his lap, able to stand his ground, make the throw for the touchdown.
The kid has a great arm. I mean, this guy can throw the ball. He's a good high school quarterback. He overwhelmed a little bit in the first half by the first. I don't know if Antioch is how deep into the bench they've gone so far. But you are seeing a lot of new numbers out there.
Yeah, he's only a junior. It's interesting to see how he'll progress into next season.
But guys, that was an impressive throw because with the rush bearing down and getting to him before he released the ball, he certainly didn't have any room to step up, and he still threw a nice ball down the field. Going for two here. Evans, hands, Alexander, and he will be stopped short of that 2-point conversion. So the 2-point conversion, no good. Saya Fatu, big number 72, making the stop on that last play. So it makes it first down to 10. And to acknowledge our sponsors, so we thank you so much for your support. Redwood Painting Company since 1947. Applicators of protective coating systems for industry. 925-432-4500. That's Redwood Painting Company. HKIT Architects, architecture that enriches the community and environment. HKIT Architects, thank you for your support. We couldn't do it without you.
Hey, before that touchdown, Antioch had scored 49 unanswered points.
That's right. The first 3 points were scored by Deer Valley tonight.
Harris is back for this kickoff return. If I was the coach, I wouldn't even have him. I'd have him out with the cheerleaders right now. Over here, real safe, nice and warm, maybe watching a movie on his computer. I would not have him on the field.
This one's going to go all the way down to the 5-yard line. And coming across the field here, making the run here, number 23. And that's Isaiah Dunn. I believe Isaiah, the team leader in interceptions this year with 3. Came all the way across the field, so not great field position for Antioch, but at this point of the game, doesn't matter a whole lot.
It could have been worse. It looked like he was going to get wrapped up inside the 5. He was able to swing out and get close enough to the 20-yard line.
Well, they kicked the ball away from where they were both lined up, and Obviously, they were kicking the ball away from number 2. They saw him back there and said, we're not going to let him damage this anymore. And, of course, he's back on the sideline. Maybe he's bugging Lucido so much to get in the game. He said, all right, you can go out there, but don't touch the ball. Well, just go out there and stand around.
You get late into the season and then to the playoffs, Dan, you got to like that situation because, Harris doesn't have a whole lot of wear on the tread because he really hasn't played. If you think about it, as they turn the corner, pick up some decent yards here for Omari Harris, even though they've played 8 now, into their 9th game, if you take out all the fourth quarters that he missed, how many games has he actually played?
Yeah, well, he missed 3 quarters of 2 games, and the first 3 games he missed 1 quarter, so that's a total of, just doing it in my head, 9 quarters, so 2 1/4 of games.
Ronald Preston making the tackle off Ryan Payne, but that's exactly it. I mean, you're going to get a guy who's done so well, and even late in the season, so much less wear and tear, so much less bumps and bruises. You got to like to have your stars fresh when the postseason starts.
Well, he's got to be fresh. There's no doubt about it. We've yet to ever see him challenge, though, and that's the interesting thing.
You mentioned that earlier, Dan. How are they going to handle things when things are not going well? Here's Harris again. Omari spilled after gaining a few. Short of the first down here. That will bring up 4th down here for Antioch. And go ahead and punt the football here.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think he really has been challenged. Just thinking about it, the B-Val, they have a bunch of great teams, but no really super powerful defense that has been stopping everybody. They have a whole bunch of great offenses, quarterbacks like Joey Sweeney, Christian Hafner, good running backs like Alexander from Deer Valley. So they're kind of more of an offensive league right now.
Well, that might be interesting next week, too, because Pittsburgh is not known this year for the great offenses they've had in the past. They're more known for their defense. And if their defense can stop Harris, it might come down to a real slugfest.
This one on the sideline, going to hit it about the 44, bounce out, exit stage left at the 43, 1st down and 10 upcoming here for Deer Valley.
Pitt's defense has been really inconsistent this year. The first game of the season against California, they shut them out. And that's without their star player, Jordan Parker, for the remaining 3 quarters. But then 2 games later against Monte Vista, they gave up 49 points to them. So
that was a great game, though.
I talked to Galley, why is this? He says, because we have a lot of replacements on defense compared to last year, and guys are still figuring out the roles. He said to me last week that they're just figuring them out now.
Boy, that's scary. They're getting better as the season goes along. That Monte Vista game, 49-42, and Pittsburgh was driving at the end of that game. Cut back here. Not able to get back to the line of scrimmage. There's Kobe Beltran with some help from his friends, also getting off the pile. Nate Jackson, number 20, was also there after the run by Jonathan Lane.
So that's where all this is going to get interesting, though, because we have a trail. We have a 49-42 loss. We have a Foothill game against Freedom. We have a California game against Pittsburgh. So if Antioch wins big next week, they might move up significantly in the rankings.
Evans fires, incomplete. Looking to the far side, Alexander was over there in the vicinity defensively. Miles Aguiar, number 22.
Hey, same goes for Pittsburgh. They still have the ability to win. A lot of people are expecting it to be close. So if it is a close, both teams will probably stay about the same ranking.
I would imagine that. That could knock, depending on how many teams make the playoffs, that could knock Antioch down to having to play in the first round as opposed to getting a bye, depending on how many teams make the D1 playoffs.
Third down and 13, and they're going to run the ball here, and not successfully that time. Caught in the backfield, Jonathan Lane, and he's going to lose a couple of yards. It'll bring up 4th down here for Deer Valley.
Talking about playoffs, around the league, Antioch and Pittsburgh are already playoff eligible. Heritage, and Deer Valley, they need to win 2 games to become playoff eligible. And Freedom and Liberty, they just need to win 1 more game. Freedom currently leading Heritage right now at halftime, so if they finish this off, they're playoff eligible. Liberty down to Pittsburgh, so if that happens, they're going to need to beat Freedom next week in the Bell game.
Oh, this one picked up on a hop and then spilled. And on that carry, Isaiah Dunn, no yards on the return. Fine tackle there by Deer Valley, and Antioch will take over first down at 10.
It's not looking good for Deer Valley right now for playoff hopes, but Heritage, they need to win 2. They're down by only 3 right now at halftime to Freedom, and if they can squeak out a win here, they just need to beat Deer Valley next week, and they will be 5-5 playoff eligible.
Well, I think the real disappointing one, if they do miss the playoffs, will be Liberty after the way they've come back in these last couple of seasons. And I mean, remember some of those years before, Dan, we almost forgot there was a team down there in Brentwood. We had never done a game there until that last time when we were out there.
I have never done
you were not with us
football
that
game
right?
at Liberty High School.
It just wasn't necessary.
I have a connection to their football field. This is an amazing story. My dad went to Liberty, and my grandfather put in the original lights on the football field.
Wow.
Grandpa Wall. He put those lights up.
Wall.
Yep. So I've done a basketball game there, I've done a softball game there, but I've never done a football game there. I've done Liberty at Freedom, and I've done Liberty here and Liberty at Pittsburgh, but I've never done them at Liberty.
Their football program for years and years, Dan, just absolutely didn't matter. But the last couple of seasons they've really come on and restored
last year they were
roar.
really good,
Yeah.
and this year they've fallen
won
a little
home
bit.
playoff game for the first time in school history.
They scored
last
37
year.
points against Antioch last week. That's not easy to do. Of course, Antioch scored 52, so.
But still, all those years that we used to go there, Liberty was always doing very well with basketball. We were there a lot for that, but never for football. Payne on that end around, gets a block, tries to get away, spins away from a tackler across the 30, and is going to be finally pulled out of bounds. And a beautiful move by Ryan Payne to get away. It looked like they had him corralled, and some fine moves there by Ryan to get away. Another nice gain and a first down for the Panthers.
Hey, Jeff Walters over at Liberty, he's building a strong program. The freshman team, I don't know if you guys know this, but the first game of the season,
De La Salle.
they beat De La.
That's right. Yeah, he was telling me that after we did the game. I think you were with me when we had that game against Deer Valley when they turned out to be a really close game at the end. Deer Valley, he was driving to try to win that game before an interception ended the ball game. Payne down the sideline, trying to tiptoe down that sideline and finally pushed out of bounds. But Ryan Payne has been in sprinter mode all night long.
Antioch got a great block from their pulling guard on that play too to free Payne. But there's another guy you're going to have to game plan for Ryan Payne. The guy, that reverse play has worked many times for them this year, but he gets open, he can run by anybody.
Out of talking about guys I can tell by body type, Payne is easily number one. His torso is only like 3 inches long. His arms are about 7 feet tall. Same with his legs.
Spilled there, flag coming as Payne takes the carry and picks up some good yardage on the play, about 6 or 7, but we'll check the flag.
They're picking it up.
Pick it up, so no penalty on the play.
That's good, because that's usually in the area of someone on the offense doing something stupid to someone on the defense when that flag is thrown. It could be a hold, a hit in the back, a clip, but it's usually against the offense. Very seldom does a defensive player do anything in that, unless it's a
face mask.
There you go. Or a horse collar.
Handoff, Payne tries the right side, stringing it out pretty well is Deer Valley. They're going to get him on the ground after a pretty short gain. Jalen Threat, number 1, helping to string that one out, but he does end up gaining 7 anyway on the play. It looked like they had that play strung out pretty nicely, and yet Ryan able to pick up 7 yards anyway. 49-9. Here, third quarter action.
And here's something that hasn't happened a lot. Payne is the leading rusher for Antioch tonight with 139 yards. And he's going to be close, or with his punt returns, way over 200 yards total offense.
Here's Omari Harris looking for some room up the middle. And Omari's got about 5 as he's spilled out near the 15-yard line. That'll bring up 2nd down and 5.
When did Deer Valley adopt the Oregon Duck look? This kind of silver and white. I don't know if you saw that game last night on television. Oregon's wore white uniforms with light gray. You could not read the names from 2 feet away on those uniforms.
Well, they've gone to a lot of different looks.
They wear a different jersey
all
every
the
night.
time, and some of them are just positively hideous. Harris runs into a defender, still able to turn this upfield and make a positive gain out of it. Going to be close to a 1st down, or it'll be 3rd down and short, but nice looking run that time.
Have you guys heard the joke about Marcus Mariota's retirement jersey? They're going to retire all 34 of his uniform combinations.
They're going to need their own wing.
I like the green one with the old happy duck that says Ducks. That's a real nice, clean,
that was
fun
more
jersey.
of the Green Bay Packer, Kelly green style that they had.
Oh.
I like the mallard green with those sparkly helmets that they had going.
I like the
really
wings.
quick.
The wings are kind of cool but some of them, gray and white and lime green, not exactly the greatest color combination of all time.
3rd down and short. And then caught in the backfield is Ryan Payne.
And you know what you do right now, don't you?
Down. Go for it.
No.
No.
You kick a field goal.
You might as well.
You've got to give the guy a chance. What do you do if you come down to absolutely have to have a field goal or extra point?
One.
Kick a field goal.
That's a very
give the guy
good point,
a chance.
Dan.
This is a perfect time to do it. It's not that big of one, but they won't do it. Antioch literally does not want to show their kicking game.
Payne gets the pitch, comes to the near side, skips into the end zone, touchdown Antioch.
Or you could do that.
Well, that'll work too.
Hey, Antioch just doesn't want people to get film on their kicking, okay? That's why.
They don't want it. They're saving it for double overtime in that playoff game. Oh, my.
55-9, pending the upcoming 2-point conversion.
And he just got behind the whole left side of the line, which the right side pulled over to the left side, behind the left side. He just kind of waltzed in. This has got to be Antioch's biggest victory in this game since that first game. I think we said it was 55-6.
We thought it was 34 kicking. It's actually 84. Snap, hold, kick is good. And that is Torres knocking it through for the extra point. And there was some kicking there, Dan.
I think what I'm going to do next year is I'm going to have all of Antioch line up in the gym when they're in there in numerical order. I'm going to ask them their names. Make sure it matches up. We should have a running clock in the 4th quarter, Tony, because we're above the 35-point or 35-point threshold. So.
Yeah, it's been an ugly one for Deer Valley as we see the Antioch band going to work. Panther football here in National Prep Stars and Delta TV. 55-9 here, the 2015 Mayor's Cup. Crosstown rivals going at it. Antioch and Deer Valley. And guys, this one has never been in doubt.
And you know who's worked really hard this year? The Antioch cheerleaders who you're seeing right here, because they count down after every touchdown how many points Antioch has. And this year that means they've done that 436 times. So Antioch has outscored their opponents now 436 to 123 in 9 games.
Deer Valley's cheerleaders actually do push-ups for every point they score.
Oh, wow.
A couple years ago, that was really tough when the Webster twins were together. They were scoring 50 burgers and 60 burgers sometimes. So
where are they now? West Virginia?
Eastern Washington.
Eastern Washington. All right.
November the 4th at 6 p.m. on Delta TV. Cable channel 24 on Comcast.
If Antioch was to score 14 more points in this game, they'd be averaging 50 points a game for this season.
Tomorrow at 10 a.m., Sunday at 6 p.m.
Well, certainly fun for the Antioch Panthers. It's not a whole lot of fun for Deer Valley, as this one has just never been in question. Here's some trickery going around the other side on the end around. Now reversing field and coming back the other way is Gold. Reverses his field one more time, and he makes an exciting run, even though he barely gets back to the line of scrimmage.
He lost a yard. He ran 67 yards on that play.
That was the most exciting run that didn't pass the 20-yard line on a kick return.
Like you said, it was an exciting run. It ends up picking up negative half a yard, but as we tick down to the final 10 seconds of the third quarter. High snap. Tripped up in the backfield, stays on his feet, gets away from a defender. Nice looking run there as the Ronald Preston here to end as loses his helmet after that play. Good looking tough run by Preston, and that will end the third quarter of play with the Antioch Panthers dominating the 2015 Mayor's Cup 55-9. Bothman Construction, our entire team, is dedicated to achieving the highest possible quality on every project. That's Bothman Construction. Tailgaters Sports Bar and Grill, 4605 Golf Course Road in Antioch. Watch a replay of tonight's game later on tonight at Tailgaters, and thanks for the delicious crew meal.
And I'll be having an adult beverage at Tailgaters tonight after the game, during the post-game celebration.
Hey, do you know what the biggest point differential in a Mayor's Cup is?
You were going to tell us, Luke. Just the facts.
It's a good thing he has that phone, Tony. There's the trophy right there.
It was actually the first Mayor's Cup in 1997. It was 55-6. So there was a 49-point differential. Right now we have a
Let's send it down
46.
to the field. Pardon me, Luke. Let's send it down to the field to Mike Cronenweg.
We tried.
Let's come back up to the booth with Tony, Dan, and Luke.
Mike, I think Mike's still, there we go.
There he is. Here's Mike.
And when the quarter begins, Deer Valley will have a 3rd and 2. Ball is started at their own 28.
There is that Mayor's Cup trophy. Of course, we'll have the presentation at the end of the game. And, of course, Mayor Wade Harper on hand to present the trophy to the winner, and I think we know who that's going to be.
Well, the mayor has to be at the Mayor's Cup, doesn't he?
You would hope so.
This cup is in honor of him.
Yes. So Wade Harper will be presenting that trophy. We'll have Mike Cronenweg down on the field. He'll have the player of the game interview, and then he'll have the mayor to present that trophy after the end of the game.
And I think this is one game where it's not going to be Najee Harris.
No.
I think Ryan Payne is going to get that honor tonight.
You know, you look at that trophy, there's only 2 spots left for the teams. What are they going to do for a new one? They're going to take off the names, or are they going to just get a new
start
one?
on the back, maybe? Is it
Start on the back?
Full on the back?
Get a Stanley Cup? I don't know.
All right.
Well, that's my goal, but...
All right, punt time for the Wolverines. And I think as far as the running clock goes down, both head coaches have to agree to do it after they get to that 35-point threshold, and I don't see why either coach would say no to that, either Coach John Lucido or head coach Lonnie Barnes. Here's the punt. And it's a situation, Dan, excuse me, why get anybody hurt in the game with such a blowout?
And you know what, the other thing, I will give both coaches and sidelines credit tonight. There has been no ridiculousness on the field, and there shouldn't be. But that's another thing you want to stop, too, is just this one is pretty much over. Let's move on.
And I want to say, first thing, as we look at Coach Brett Dudley in the middle of that Antioch huddle here on the sideline as they talk things over. But you guys, the penalty situation for Antioch, Dan, much better. That really looks good for them going forward. And I want to commend our officiating staff tonight. We have not had a lot of problems or time delays getting the next play snapped.
Like I said, other than that one block, which I'm not going to complain about one block, but I'm just saying that was the only call I seen tonight that I even have a question about. No, this has been great.
You know, but there's always going to be those questions as to what call should and shouldn't be made. But when a play stops because of a penalty or something, Dan, and it takes you 5 minutes to get the next play going, that really kills the momentum of the game.
I think the first game we did was a game where you had to question some of the penalties because it seemed like some of them were getting called just because it was the first game.
Handoff. Here comes Tanner to the near side, cuts it back upfield, and he's going to pick up good yardage, getting out near the 45-yard line. So about 5 yards, 4 yards on that play. Call it 2nd down and 6.
And I'd have Najee Harris in a glass bubble somewhere, so he just protected somewhere. I don't even want him near the sideline where someone could run into him.
We have heard some stories of guys getting hurt on the sideline before.
One of our cameramen.
Unusual. Oh, here's a ball that's loose. They're going to pick it up. Tanner's going to make the pickup finally, and he's going to hit and wrestled out of bounds. New quarterback in the game, number 4, Abram Carnthong, has taken over for Newman Najee, and a little mishandle on that last snap and that last handoff.
There's been few mistakes tonight for Antioch. They have played a relatively clean game. They have not turned the ball over.
Very much so.
3 or 4 penalties. And even after that one initial kickoff return early in the game that went for a number of yards, they have shut down and not given Deer Valley good field position.
Amari Harris in the backfield, the sophomore. The other Harris.
Here's Amari getting the call. And Harris pushing the pile, continues to push the pile, and picks up the first down. Boy, they had a couple of defenders on him, including number 11, Nasir Green, and they just couldn't get him stopped. And Dan, we just keep talking about it. Everywhere you look, there are good players here on the Antioch sideline. Boy, they just look tremendous tonight.
And just looking ahead, because this is the last home game, unless they get a home game in the playoffs, there's a lot of juniors, including Mr. Harris, that is going to be back next year. So this might be a start of a mini dynasty for Antioch.
Omari, the lone setback behind Carthong. Going to get the pitch, wants to come here to the near side, turns the corner, skirts down the sideline, hit and knocked out of bounds. And on the tackle that time, Ronald Holmes, number 21, but another good gain, another first down. They move the chains one more time as we tick down to 7:20 and counting here in the fourth.
I had a chance to meet Omari for the first time on Sunday. We were at church service together, and he doesn't look like a sophomore.
No.
He's about 6 feet tall, 170, has a full-grown beard already. Also a terrific linebacker prospect.
Right up the middle goes Harris. Breaks a tackle inside the 5. Touchdown. Antioch 25 yards away. And they just keep pouring it on. And now, Dan, with this one, as they take it to 61 points, with a 2-point conversion, they will get their biggest point total of the season here at 63.
And they're doing it the right way, though. You can't, what are you supposed to do, lay down on the ball? No, you bring in your backups and let them do it. That ball, that was just a simple, straight-up-the-gut run play. And there was nice blocking on the line, a nice hole, and then just the talent, the speed takes over, and he walks into the end zone for another touchdown. So this is the kind of game Antioch really, I think, wanted to see tonight. We wanted to see multiple guys come in, and Deer Valley's offside, and this whole thing is just turning. I don't know if it could be any worse for Deer Valley right now at this point.
Really kind of a sad situation. We talked earlier in these they've lost 3 in a row, now make it 4, but that Liberty game and the Pittsburgh game, Dan, they really held their own against 2 quality football teams, especially against Pitt. I mean, a couple of plays either way, they could have won those games. And in this game, they have just been absolutely torched. Here's the kick, and that one is good.
Hey, you definitely don't want to start. Well, you don't want to start their kicker on your fantasy team if you have one.
So that matches Antioch's highest point total of the season. They had that 62 against Acalanes.
Now the cheerleaders have to count to 62.
Wow.
They've been doing this since I was here, Tony. This is a long-standing Antioch tradition. I think maybe they should just go straight to 62 and miss the first 61.
So if this score stands, if it ends right here, this will be the biggest point differential in the Mayor's Cup history, breaking a 18-year record.
62-9.
And amazingly, I remember that game, Tony, right here at the original Eels Field. and how the next year Deer Valley had gotten so much better in their second year as a varsity program and really competed well. And since then, Deer Valley's held an edge in this series.
Here comes that kick return. Breaking it to the outside, across the 25 and to about the 28-yard line. Jalen Threat on the return. Actually, I think that's pronounced Threat. And Jalen with a pretty nice return over there. And the clock stopped here with 6:20 and counting.
No, the clock is running, so they must be running it, Tony.
They are running it. They have been. They did stop it after the score.
It's amazing. It's only 9:05 on our clock. I mean, I think that first game ended somewhere near 10 o'clock, and that one ran in the fourth quarter. That's how long that game took to play.
There were so many scores in that first and second quarter. It seemed like it took a long time to.
And then remember the 20 penalties.
Delta TV, cable channel 29. Correction 24.
Out across the 30. And on the carry, number 25, Ronald Preston.
And you know, the thing is, as you watch Deer Valley, there's some real good talent on that side of the ball. I mean, is Antioch just that much better than everyone? That's what you got to start wondering.
Well, Luke and I were talking about it earlier. You know, Liberty's a quality team. Pittsburgh's a very good team. A lot of people think they're better than Antioch in the BVAL. And they held their own against those teams, and they come up here and, you know, they've had some problems with some of the off-the-field situation, you know, but still, Antioch is very, very impressive here tonight. Fene Hafoka making that tackle, knocking Elijah Evans to the ground. I mean, a game like this, Dan, you look at it and you got to say, hey, maybe Antioch really, they're going to have to prove it next week, but maybe Antioch is the class of the BVA.
Well, it's hard because, you know, remember Pittsburgh barely beat Freedom too. And Antioch had a closer game against Freedom, but still beat them by a significant amount. But this game is the one where you kind of look at it and go, look at what they did to a team that only lost to 3. But like I said, sometimes you look at that stuff, you throw it out once the next game comes.
Right.
And, you know, Vic Galley's no dummy over there at Pittsburgh High School. He knows what he's doing over there. He's been there long enough. He's got a great team and a great program. He knows what it's like to play Antioch in a big game.
And we've seen this so many times, Dan. I mean, you can take it to the NFL. The 49ers look great against Minnesota. Several weeks later, the Niners look terrible. Minnesota looks pretty good. So you just, week to week, you just don't know.
Some trickery.
Trickery, like the flea flicker, thrown wide open and in and out of the hands of the intended receiver. Adrian Dola was wide open inside the Antioch 35-yard line, and he could have run for the touchdown and just couldn't hang on to the football.
He tried to catch the ball with his chest there. Got to catch it with your hands.
And it looked like it bounced off the breastplate on the shoulder pads, and he was not able to haul that one in.
And the only thing I can say in that situation is that ball was thrown by someone other than the quarterback who you're used to catching the ball from. And sometimes the guy delivers a little different spin on the ball. That's the only thing I can think of there. Because he was wide open.
Yeah, he was trying to catch the ball with his body there. That's what he did wrong.
Verde Design, professional sports, landscape, architecture, civil engineering, sports planning and design. That's Verde Design. RGM Construction Managers, specializing in coordinating design and construction of public facility. That's RGM Construction. Thank you so much for your support. We could not do it without you. Well, that'll bring up fourth down.
Here's another little trickery. Halfback option.
Deep down the field. This one is going to be intercepted. And hauling that one in for Antioch is number 43.
The unknown Panther.
Nameless.
He's between number 42, Fene Hafoka, and number 45, Little John Overstreet. So whoever's in between there, that's who made the
And now listen to this. I went over to the in-house announcer here and looked at his roster, which has been updated on Max Preps. And he didn't have number 43 either. So
brutal. Well, they've got to get that cleaned up for the Mayor's Cup. I believe Nashville Prep Stars is going to have that game next week. That'll be a 1:30 start out at Pitt Stadium. And Dan, boy, you and I just always love doing games for Pittsburgh.
One thing I love about it's a great venue.
Really is. Not that this one's bad. This place looks fantastic now.
You didn't like the dirt field earlier? the mud and dirt.
Coming out here to the far side, staying on his feet somehow. Cameron Nathan, number 24, as he takes a pounding that time. Somehow stays on his feet and picks up some nice yardage.
And this press box is a lot better than some. One thing we got involved in as you moved over to the other side of the hill we did games is every stadium is exactly the same.
Right.
And you're not that high up, so you don't get a great angle looking at the field. Of course, Pittsburgh's is the best because you're high up and there's nothing blocking your view. You can see each 10-yard line.
Right.
Here you've got some windows in the way and stuff like that. It's still not, not bad, but when we go over to do the Los Lomas games and the Ocolandas games, they all have the same field.
Right.
I think they're just going to take a knee here, and we're going to get out of here, Tony.
Under a minute to go here in the 2015 Mayor's Cup game, completely dominated here by Antioch, 62-9. That is not a graphic error that you're seeing on the screen. It really is 62-9.
Luke, you got the Pitt score, the update?
Oh, yeah, Pittsburgh just scored to begin the second half. They're up 31-10.
So it looks like, Tony, we're going to have a 9-0 Antioch and an 8-1 Pittsburgh, which that probably hasn't happened that much. And, of course, that hasn't happened in a long, long time.
So both teams 4-0 in the BVAL going into next week's big little game. And we are going to have a great matchup next week, and that will do it. That will be the last play of the game. The Antioch Panthers, the winners of the 2015 Mayor's Cup game. A final score, Antioch 62, Deer Valley 9. Stay tuned. We will have Mike Cronenwett on the field with the mayor, Wade Harper, and of course you'll have our player of the game.
Attention, Mayor Wade Harper is going to make a presentation to Antioch High School. So if you can focus your attention to that field, we have Mayor Harper. As he presents the Mayor's Trophy to the Antioch High School football team, undefeated football team.
Don't break the trophy.
Oh yeah, yacht boys, yacht boys.
I'll send you the pictures, guys.
Yacht boys, you already know, A-Town. Yacht boys, we run this town.
Let's go, baby.
I'm a sophomore.
I said I'm a sophomore. I let it.
All right, so it's all over here with the 2015 Mayor's Cup, the final. The Antioch Panthers beat the Deer Valley Wolverines 62-9. And Dan, I think you've got some final numbers for us.
483 yards of total offense for Antioch, but here's the shocking stat for those of you that follow this stuff. Ryan Payne was the leading rusher for Antioch tonight, 11 carries, 151 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He also caught a pass for 32, which gives him 183 yards of total offense, overshadowing the All-American Najee Harris, who only had 109 yards, but he only carried the ball 10 times. Coming off the bench for Antioch, though, is Harris, who the other Harris, Lamari Harris, who had 75 yards and a touchdown. So Antioch rushes for 376 yards. Deer Valley 66 yards rushing.
That is without Nick Perry that they did all that. No, the biggest thing tonight for me was when Najee Harris broke the 70-year record for single-season touchdowns for Antioch High School. Worthshaw held that record for 70 years.
Unbelievable. It lasted that long. Well,
that record didn't even happen on this field. As I was talking to Dave Jackson, who's 107, and what he was telling me was that it was, of course, before this school was even open.
Wow.
And Antioch High School was the junior high, and they played on that field. So that didn't even happen here. That's how long ago it happened.
Yeah, that's right. This campus wasn't even built yet. It wasn't until 1955 until the game was built.
Most roads weren't built before Dave Jackson when he went to school here.
Didn't make it. Pittsburgh did. We didn't.
So that is a wrap for all of us here at Delta TV and National Prep Stars. For Mike Cronenwet, Luke Johnson, Dan Wall, I'm Anthony Schultz saying good night from Antioch High School.
Dan Wall, did you sign off?
Yes.
All done.